Hello viewers, thank you for joining me. It wasn't intentional, but this has turned into a very lighthearted year in terms of what I've been watching. At some point along the way, I think I just embraced that. Maybe we'll return to the murder mysteries and apocalyptic futures in a few months, but for now, Urara Meirochou is another cute slice of life with a magical twist. Our main character is a girl named Chia who was raised in the mountains. She has no trouble with the language, but she's entirely unacquainted with human society and culture. She's basically a very cute, good-tempered, feral child, having picked up a lot of traits from the animals she grew up with. But on her 15th birthday, she sets out for the nearby town of Meirochou, having received a letter informing her that her mother is living somewhere within its walls. Meirochou is a huge place, separated into 10 areas and known for its Urara, or fortune tellers. Each year, young girls flock to this town once they turn 15, because that's the age they can become apprentice fortune tellers at one of the many shops inside. But Chia doesn't know any of this until she arrives at Natsumeya Tea House and meets the other 3 girls she'll be living and studying with from now on. First, there's Komei, who'd probably be the eccentric one of the group if Chia wasn't so odd herself. Komei grew up in a very wealthy family that didn't actually believe in things like magic or fortune-telling, but a foreign exchange student from France came to stay with them when Komei was young. She turned out to be a witch, and Komei, who grew really attached to her in the way a kid might follow around an older sibling, vowed she'd become a witch herself one day. She's had a passion for Western styles and forms of fortune-telling ever since, and she was fairly easy to like as a character. She's a fan of practical jokes and generally just very upbeat. Then there's Nono, the extremely timid younger sister of Nina, the woman they're training under. Nono's big dream is to grow up to be a confident, capable adult. And normally, I'm pretty fond of characters who are striving to better themselves, but she was a little bland, to be honest. Nono's mother died when she was very young. Her preferred method of divination is to use the doll her mother left her as a sort of spirit medium. It may sound odd, but the doll was a high point of her character. It's definitely possessed by something. Possibly something a little evil, and that was one gag that never got old to me. And finally, there's Kon, the studious one. Kon's mother is an extremely accomplished Urara herself, just one rank down from the very top. All Kon's ever dreamed about is being that good herself, and secretly of surpassing her. She was really drawn in by the stories her mom would tell as a child, about how the gods of the town would only reveal themselves to a select few they deem worthy. Kon's definitely the most serious, ambitious one of the group, but she was also a very lonely child. This is her first time studying alongside people her own age with similar dreams. The friendship element is, without a doubt, the strongest part of this series. And I don't just say that because it tends to be my favorite element in anything. For one reason or another, none of these girls have ever really had friends their own age, or own species before, so it was great to see them come together and support each other, and I wanted to shout out the friendships in this show for one particular reason. Kon is a really interesting character, because it kind of feels like she should be the main character. All 4 girls are officially listed as main characters, but you know what I mean. They're all important, but we're introduced to Chia first, and she's at the heart of the big mystery. But Kon takes their training the most seriously. At first, Chia isn't particularly interested in becoming a fortune teller. She's just here to find her mother, but you can't get past the first section of the town as an apprentice. Entry into the upper blocks is only awarded once you've reached those ranks yourself, so Chia decides to go all the way to the top, to become a rank 1 Urara and go find the fortune teller in block 1 said to have some legendary power, because if anyone can help her track down her mother, surely this legendary rank 1 must be able to. When she tells Kon this one night, her new friend confides that becoming a rank 1 has secretly always been her dream too, so they make a pact to get there together. This moment felt kind of like it was meant to give Kon a higher status than the other two, cement her in as the best friend, and I wasn't sure how I felt about this development at first. But there was nothing to worry about. On several other nights, Chia and Kon meet up when they can't sleep to discuss things that are worrying them, but after that first time, they're always interrupted by Komei and Nono. They tend to just appear and reveal they were listening all along, but Chia and Kon always welcome them in. It had a way of turning these serious conversations into something warm and fuzzy, and I love when a show manages to make all its characters feel equally important. Additionally, it had a way of always prioritizing the friendship. Sometimes Kon would get a little tripped up over the thought that they weren't just friends, but rivals too. As she's never had friends before, she's really uncertain over where exactly that line's supposed to be drawn, but whenever push comes to shove, she always sides in favor of helping her friends. And the climax of that particular character arc was really kind of beautiful. One of those late-night rooftop conversations revolved around Kon's fears that she may have accidentally broken one of the sacred Urara laws, and the punishment might result in the gods stripping her of her power. But despite what it might mean for their own dreams, the other three are so quick to assure her, "If the gods take your power, we'll lend you ours." These are the kind of friendship stories I live for, and it's definitely a strong point in this series' favor. That scene is only the end of episode 8. In hindsight, it potentially could have been a good conclusion for the entire series, which brings us to some of the things Urara Meirochou, I'm not even sure if struggled with is the right way to describe it. This was one of those series that felt torn about what it wanted to be. Episode 11 is a great example, actually. Chia's been kidnapped by some malicious spirits who reveal some unsettling things about her mother. But interspersed with these dark, serious segments are clips of her friends, frantically running through the maze trying to find her, except it's absolute Looney Tunes on their end of things. They're falling into every trap, and it's bright and comedic. And you keep jumping between the two scenes with no warning. It's pretty jarring in a way that's not great. Those sort of tone shifts are present, but aren't nearly that dramatic throughout the rest of the series. It was the type of show that usually had 2 mini storylines each episode. Often, one wouldn't really cover anything worth mentioning. It would be some fluffy plotline full of a very light kind of fan service that is also really prevalent in this show. And then the other would focus in a bit more, and we'd get a look at what the girls were studying, or deeper into the mystery of Chia's mother, and her own mysterious connection to the spirit world. Just recently, when I reviewed Otaku Elf, I mentioned that when a more lighthearted show gives me that hint of something darker, I'm usually disappointed if it doesn't then run with it and explore it properly. The thing is, I think this show could have still been really good if it had leaned fully into being a daily adventures, slice-of-life show, but it does dive deep enough into the mystery that you're going to get invested, and as much as I did still enjoy this series, I find it a little hard to recommend it wholeheartedly when there's no real payoff to getting invested in that mystery. This first season came out in 2017. It never got a follow-up season, and it doesn't look like the manga ever got an official English translation. I'm sure there are other ways to find it, of course, but I'll probably be content to just look up the important spoilers myself. But if you're not too bothered by incomplete stories, or if looking up a fan translation of the rest of it doesn't sound like too much of a hassle, I would still recommend this one. The anime was a good introduction to the series, and definitely enough to get me invested in the characters and this world. Thank you for watching.